Hello again. When I first got the Air 3, I quickly realised there was an issue with the two cameras when it comes to video. Let me explain. The only ND filters available at the time were the ones manufactured by DJI with the same value for each lens. This was never going to work. I originally planned to do a video on this problem, but since then both Freewell and Polar Pro have released a solution. These filters have dual ND values, so that should solve the problem. So let's give them a test. So I've set the frame rate at 4K 25, so I need to set the shutter at 1/50th of a second. So what I normally do is hold an ND filter in front, and I'm guessing a 64 will probably be fine. So this is a 64, and yet that is perfect. So I'll put that on and we'll go for a fly. So if you look in the bottom right hand corner, the MM, which stands for manual metering, that's staying at 0, that's -3. The ISO is set to 100, and the quality of that as we're flying along is very acceptable. So I'm on an ND64, and we're flying towards the fishing lake, which is in amongst that group of trees. And again, it's all staying fairly stable at the moment. And then if you again look at the manual metering, it's now gone down to -1.3, which is still acceptable. And it's staying at -1.3. Oh, it's now -1.7, but it's hovering around that area, and that looks okay to me. Now if I change to the 70mm lens, it's gone to -3 straight away, and look at that. That is just, you couldn't do anything with that. It's too dark, there's too many shadows in there. So with an ND64 filter on the 24mm lens and the 70mm lens, it just isn't going to work. Even as I pan up, we're not really gaining a lot. It's still very dark, there's lots of shadow in that footage, so that's no good at all. So now if I switch to an ND32 on the 70mm lens, you can see it is much better. We're hovering around the -1.3 again, and the image quality, even as I'm panning down, we're going to -1.7. Is it going to go any further than that? No, we're staying at -1.7, and that is totally acceptable footage. It's now, well, it's now gone to -2.3, but that is acceptable footage. Maybe a little bit dark compared to the 24mm lens, so that will need a little bit of work in post, which you don't always want to do. Personally, I've been involved in videography since the late 80s, so I'm very old school and always film in pro mode. So now I'm filming in auto with an ND64. We've now changed to an EV value, which is exposure value, and that's staying at 0. So the drone is doing absolutely everything else. It's adjusting the shutter speed, it's adjusting the ISO, hopefully not too much, so I don't want too grainier footage. But again, that looks very acceptable. That is very editable footage. And now I'm going to change to the 70mm lens in auto, and again that is really good. The drone is making a really good job of getting that exposure exactly the same, and this is with an ND64, so it's making all the adjustments for that ND value, and it's good footage to work with. And now I'm going to pan up, and if you look at the EV value again, it's not changing at all. The exposure is staying very stable, and I come right up to the water and then include a bit of the sky, and the EV value is still saying 0. However, the Air 3 has made me realise that I'm too stuck in my ways. The software in these drones is now so advanced that filming in auto, for me, is now the norm 90% of the time. I no longer have to keep an eye on the settings. The drone does it all for me and I can concentrate on the footage that I want. So here is a comparison between the auto settings and the pro settings with an ND64 on the 24mm lens. And here is another one on the 70mm lens between auto with ND64, pro with an ND32 and the pro with an ND64. So here's a comparison now after a little bit of colour grading. Can you tell which one's which? They both look acceptable to me, so it's going to tell you in a minute which one is which. So you can make up your own mind of how you want to film, but hopefully this has been a good comparison between the different operating modes of the Air 3. Of course, you don't have to listen to me. My method is now to shoot mainly in auto. I use an ND64 on bright days and an ND32 on cloudy days, and I'd also recommend getting this 3 filter set, which is a UV filter, a mist filter for shooting on misty days, and an LPR filter for shooting at night and in low light, just to get rid of that yellow tinge. So I hope you've enjoyed the video, and hopefully see you next time. Bye.